I'm going to start with the darkest. I'm going to use a little pencil brush again because of the preciseness of this. This is the E36 brush again. I'm going in with Love Letter, and I'm just going to go over this corner, and I'm patting this on. I'm not rubbing it, I'm patting it and getting it right in that corner. The trick to getting your pigments to stay on, I use the 10 Years Younger finishing spray from Limelight, which I love. This Coastal Scents smudger type of brush, but I'm going to use it for this purpose because I need it to be in a small area. So I'm going to spritz this brush. I'm going to use it for all the colors because we're going to do an ombre. They can all blend together. I'm going to go in with my darkest pink pigment. So I am tapping this on. So once I know I've got it on my brush, I'm going to go ahead and put it a little bit in this corner right here, overlapping that Love Letter. I'm going to spritz my brush again, and then I'm going in with that lighter pink pigment from Mac. Then I'm going to overlap this a little bit on the outside. Now I'm going to take the back of this brush and I'm going to push this pigment that's the darker color in a little bit and over the top of what I just put on there. Okay. I'm going to go in with a tiny bit of the Love Letter and put it over the top of that just to bring in that depth. I'm just overlapping a little bit more of that darker pink right here. And this is gonna get cleaned up, y'all. Now let's clean this brush off. I'm going in now with that Tarte Frosé. I don't know how you say it, but it's beautiful. I'm gonna put this color right here. And this is like an orangey pink, so it's gonna overlap this other section really nicely. The last colors I'm going to go in with is the Tarte Sun Drenched. It is a really pretty orange gold color, a combination. Make sure I got my brush clean. All that pink needs to be off there for this color, and go ahead and spritz with your setting spray. Okay, now what I'm doing is I'm dipping back in each color with whatever's on there, whatever on my brush, and I'm blending it over the color beside it. All right, a little bit more Love Letter in this corner for depth. All right, the last thing we're gonna do, I'm getting all the pigment off of this little brush. I'm going back in with my spritz, and I'm going to take, out of the palettes that I'm using, I'm going to use the Vermeer, and I'm limelighting that to make sure that it's gonna stay on, and that is gonna go right here in this inner corner, and it's gonna overlap that gold that I put on, just a little bit. Now what I wanna do is I wanna take the brush that had the Love Letter on it, and I wanna clean up the line in the crease really gently. I don't want those pigments coming way up in here. I'm gonna put a little bit of Love Letter in the outside corner. And then I wanna go in with the Warm Taupe, and I'm gonna put that in this inner crease right here, overlapping, just to make sure it's clean through here. All right, the most important thing right now is to make sure that I have every single bit of shadow out from under my eyes. Now, if I had a makeup remover wipe with me right now, I would wipe this section off before I started. So this is what I'm going in with. This is the Tarte CC Under Eye Corrector. This is what I'm using first under my eyes. I'm gonna put a dot because this is very concentrated. You don't need much. Most of the Tarte products, you really don't need much. But I definitely wanted to hide these, the dark and discoloration. I had not been sleeping. I think I slept 3 hours the night before the wedding. Last thing you want to do for your wedding day is to not get sleep. I had no choice. I just couldn't sleep. My stomach had been upset. It was just, stress. But doing everything yourself, it's very stressful. So where most people have a lot of stress, I think I had probably 4 times that amount because I did it myself. But I did that for budget purposes. The best way to go, especially if you're older, if you're trying to not show your pores and not show your wrinkles as much, you want to use your blender sponge and push. You don't want to pat. I usually pat, but this is where what you want to do. You just want to push it in so that it gets down in and you don't look like you're wearing 97 layers of makeup. Okay, so I'm pushing that in. Now, you'll notice I'm going to be careful around my eyes, not to remove. I have not done my under eyeliner, but I've done a little bit. I just want to make sure I don't remove any of that. Okay, so that is pushed in very nicely. You'll still see my bags for a little bit because of the lighting in here. So what I used as far as foundation for my wedding, I used the Amazonian Clay Full Coverage Foundation, SPF 15 sunscreen, and this will last you 12 hours. And especially if you spritz it with a setting spray, you're gonna probably get longer than that. So what I do is I take an old compact that's been cleaned out, like this one from It Cosmetics, and I squeeze a little bit in here. And then I take a few of the Tarte Rainforest of the Sea Radiance drops, shake it up really well, and I'm gonna put a couple of drops of this in here. And the reason I'm doing that is because the Amazonian Clay foundation is more of a matte, and I don't want to glow on my wedding day. I want to look fresh. So I did put a couple drops of that in there, and then I'm going in to kind of blend it a little bit. And I might have to add more of the clay. Really, I didn't add any just now because I already had some in here from yesterday. You don't need much of this foundation. It's better to layer a little tiny bit at a time. And so that's what I'm going to do. Now, taking my blender sponge again. I did not get my blender sponge wet, but that day I didn't have time to go get it wet. So I used a dry sponge that day. So I'm just kind of trying to repeat all the things I did on the day of my wedding. And I'm pushing this in so that it's in the pores, but it's not going to show them as much as it normally would. Okay. Okay, now that I have like one thin, even layer on, I'm gonna go back into my little palette and I'm pushing my sponge in and getting product on there, and then that is going on my face again. And I'm just gonna do another light layer. I'm bringing it down. Now also, wedding people especially, you're gonna be in pictures, you don't want your ears being pink or a different color. Tap your ears, make sure they're the same color as your skin. Sounds crazy, but you want to make sure everything looks the same. I'm blending it all the way down. Now, the one thing you should make sure you have done is totally color match your skin. Don't get sun after you color match for your foundation and then expect your foundation to still be the perfect match for your skin. Make sure if you're going to foundation color match, you do it a couple of days before your wedding when your skin is the color it's going to be. You don't want to tan at the last minute. You don't want to use a faux tanner or a fake tanner at the last minute. You want to have your natural color the way it's going to be for the wedding day when you pick out your foundation. So in 2 days before, 3 days before, because you don't want any like harsh color on your face. All right, so that has been pushed in, and you see how it's given me that little glow. So that is the glow that I'm talking about. I don't want to glow like a lightning bug. I want to glow like I have inner dewiness, and luminosity, which we know is a lie because I just turned 48 last weekend. So, but anywho, I'm just gonna have to own it, right? All right, making sure you get up in here too, because sometimes I forget this little spot in here. Now, I have corrected a little on the side here while I'm working with my foundation, but most of this I'm going to correct with my concealer, which I'm going to do now. The concealer I used was the most amazing stuff ever, especially if you have a wrinkle under your eye. This will not show it like other concealers. I don't know why, I don't know how, I don't even care, it just works. And then the other one I love very much that I found after the fact of the wedding is the and this is Tarte Shape Tape, by the way, I didn't say that, is the Tarte Maracuja Creaseless Concealer. You use a dot, and I'm telling you that stuff stays on like you wouldn't believe. And it doesn't really crease, it looks so good and it stays on. That's light, medium, neutral is what I have in the Maracuja one. And this one I have light because I was lighter at the time. So I'm not gonna use a lot of this one because it is super light. I am a light, medium, neutral right now for the most part. Okay, I'm not gonna do a ton of under eye concealer, and I didn't that day either. So again, we're gonna press with our sponge. And I'm using the same sponge the whole time because those products work together. But now this is where I'm going to clean up my shadow right here on the outside. Now remember, I have not done my highlight, I have not done my brows, I have not done my liner or my mascara, so those eyes are not completely done. Okay, let me make sure I've got that all packed in. You guys know I'm not a big fan of powder because it can make you look really old. But if you do not set under your eyes, I don't care how old you are, and you have any concealer or product that has an ounce of oil in it, it will transfer your waterproof makeup under your eye. It will transfer everything you have on your eyes under your eye. You do not want that. So you always want to set under your eyes. So here's what I have been doing. I have a flat blender sponge, and this could be used damp or dry. I'm using it dry today because I'm lazy and I don't want to get it wet. And I'm going in with the Limelight translucent powder. You can use any translucent powder you have. So I am going to just twist it on there and get it covered like that, which looks insane. Then I'm going to pat it or really press it in under my eye. I don't want to emphasize wrinkles, but I have to set this where it's going to be, everything's going to be transferring down. All right, so pat, pat, pat. And I'm doing it at the same angle like that I want my eyeshadow to be. So pat it in here. Now I'm going to leave this on. This is baking, you guys. You've probably heard of baking. If you have not, all it means is that I'm going to let this set until it just kind of goes into my skin, and then I'll take off excess and everything else will be already settled in and it will stay where it's put. So press and press and press. And I want to get it up in here. Press, press, press. Okay, now, yes, I'm gonna look cray-cray. I'm gonna look crazy for a minute. Y'all know me. I'm gonna look crazy regardless, so you might as well just bear with me while I'm looking like Frosty over here. I'm gonna go ahead and do my brows and my highlighter, my liner, my mascara. Then I'll finish up my face. So I have two options for what you can do for your brows. There are waterproof like brow pencils, and these are awesome. But what I wanted to do that was a little more natural for me, I used the finishing spray with eyeshadow, and that is what I use for my brows because it looked more natural. It didn't look super dark. It didn't look like I had drawn my eyebrows on. So I used this MAC 266 SE brush, which is an angle liner brush. You guys, any angle liner brush you have will work. I'm going to spritz it with my finishing spray. You guys see, this is my holy grail. Like, I don't know what I ever did without it. I know what I did. I wore makeup that came off. Okay, so then I'm going into my Limelight by Alcone eyeshadow palette in the color Brownie, and that is the color that seems to work with my deep dark eyebrows. So now I'm just going to lightly push and fill in and create a nice sharp edge that I'm going to blend out in a minute, which is not going to look so sharp once I'm done. Yes, I was blessed with very thick dark eyebrows. Now, over the years, the more I've waxed, the less brow I have. You used to see my eyebrows. I mean, they were like insane. So I am working with what I probably will have for the rest of my life. But be careful, girls. If you are tweezing or waxing, you will eventually not get those hairs back. In addition to that, you can also, for extra protection, you can also take this and spritz your spoolie. And so your Limelight setting spray is in that, and that's what's going to make sure this stays even better. So my brows look all perfect and whatnot. I'm going to go ahead and take off this excess powder under my eyes. Baking is done. Lately, this is the only baking I've been doing. Trying to lose weight, I can't bake anything because I'll be eating it. All right, I'm taking anything that's left on this brush and just kind of patting it into any area that might get a little sweaty. All right, let's do the other brow. I'll be back.